Folks, the Black Dog Salvage Podcast is brought to you by Mountain Khakis.
Nice.
You know, we've worn a lot of them out in the field, but out for fun?
Do you wear more than one?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, that's right. They have shirts and socks.
As a matter of fact, listen to this zipper.
Oh, my God.
That's my Mountain Khaki jacket.
That's a smooth zipper.
Did you hear that?
Yes. And this shirt? Yeah. Mountain Khakis. And my corduroy pants with a little stretch in them.
Oh, get out.
Yes, sir.
No,
Mountain Khakis.
Robert.
And that's all an accident. That's just how I dress this morning.
People can dress just like you. Getting their own mountain.
I think they should start their own line under you, Robert.
Yeah. I'd pick better colors that go together. But
yeah,
they can dress
I got a lot of warm things on today, but my favorite Mountain Khaki stuff, my shorts.
You do look good in those shorts.
And some of those fishing shirts.
It's hard to look good in shorts, too.
Put me out on a boat in Mountain Khaki, I'm a happy man.
There it is.
Mountain Khakis is the way to go, people.
Okay, ready?
Break a leg.
Hey, everybody, it's Mike Whiteside.
I'm Robert Kulp.
And I'm Tay Whiteside.
And welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast.
You guys know what it is. It's the podcast where every week we talk to the most interesting people we can find, from salvage extraordinaires, makers, and creators of the world.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking to Mark Bowe.
Yeah.
Who?
Craftsman, businessman, historian, and host of DIY Networks, Barnwood Builders. And also just an all-around Renaissance man.
Ooh.
Then Mark's going to give us his DIY top tip of the day. Then finally, we're going to give you some behind the scenes from one episode of our show, Salvage Dawgs. Today, we're talking about the Drake's Branch episode 911 on DIY Network.
Otherwise known as Mudfest.
Yeah, Mudfest.
Yeah.
So, just after the break, Mark Bowe.
Yeah, I felt a little clumsy, I'll be honest, coming into this cold.
I felt great.
Yeah, Mark, your piece was awesome.
I felt like I nailed my piece.
I got to tell you, if this is what you're going to bring today,
I'm good. I'm good. I was just letting you guys do your thing.
And we don't even know what that is.
We don't have a thing yet. You know, when we have needs for trucks,
Needs.
Everyone's got needs.
We only go Chevy.
That's right.
You know, because those guys built an amazing truck. And the last one we got was called the High Country. Fine Corinthian leather.
Air-conditioned seats, man.
I'm telling you what, man, this is high cotton.
It's a rags to riches story, though, because your first work truck, was also a Chevy, wasn't it?
It was the white one. It was when you were born. I bought that thing down in Savannah.
Yeah.
And it had a fish on it.
A fish?
On the side.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It was from here. There was a guy that was guiding on Smith Mountain Lake. And we bought that thing, drove it to Savannah, moved back up here, and then I met Robert pretty much right away.
That's a 91 Chevy pickup.
Yeah. Taught me how to drive.
It was
in that
white,
truck.
and you had a plywood back bottom in the bed for some reason, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
For some
Who
reason?
knows?
Yeah.
You know?
That's when I met Mike, he drove up, and there was that Chevy, and there was Molly. Molly the dog. You know, Molly the black dog.
I would always buy trucks or vehicles that I could sleep in. That's kind of my nomad,
8-foot bed.
Vagrant.
It's an 8-foot bed.
Yeah. It's very important, you know. You know, you got to have a place to sleep, and sometimes your car is just it. You know?
It's handsome.
Chevy's been with us a while.
Absolutely. We certainly built Black Dog Salvage, starting with that 91 truck.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories about those Chevys, and I know Tay's got one, and I got a couple. Chevy.
Black Dog. What a pair.
Hey, everybody, it's Mike Whiteside.
And I'm Robert Kulp.
And I'm Tay Whiteside.
And welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast.
Guys, we're back. It's, of course, the podcast where we talk to the most interesting people we can find from the salvage maker and creator communities.
Yeah, well, speaking of interesting people, today we've got Mark Bowe. And if you didn't know who Mark Bowe was, get ready. He's a craftsman, a businessman, a historian, and the host of DIY Networks, Barnwood Builders, and an all-around Renaissance man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mark's also going to help us with that DIY top tip. I'm sure he's got several of them for us.
Mark, thirsty?
No, I'm on pills.
Hey, break them out, baby. Don't bogart those pills, my friend.
Because today we are talking to none other than Mark Bowe. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I've been over here a couple of times, but I didn't realize that had gone podcasting.
Oh, yeah. That's about where we're headed.
It's a good thing.
It's the logical next step for C-grade television celebrities like us.
Yeah, I would love. Yeah.
That's why we bring in the A team, like Mark Bowe here.
Oh, yeah.
So that we can land with a B maybe at the end of the course.
You know what? I heard the description that you gave me, and I appreciate the intro because I want to be that guy.
You know, that's when you're on the way down and you're watching somebody pass you on the way up, you know, you're pretty impressed.
Yeah.
We're
I'm glad I
impressed.
can help you little folks out. It feels great.
You know, we've known you a long time, Mark. I'm trying to figure out when we first met. I think we saw a cabin on the side of the highway, you know, I-64, and went down to figure out who it was, and it was you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is our relationship actually predates television. So, you know, we've known of each other for quite a while. And I do remember you guys stopping by and taking a look at that cabin. And, you know, that's the nature of what we do. Take down old log houses and old timber frames and restore them and make them better.
Yeah, it's a real job, right?
It's
you're
actually
in
a real job. Yeah. That's what's kind of cool about the show is it actually follows us around doing our real work.
And you've been doing this since 1995?
I've been doing it since 1996. It was a way out of the coal mines.
That's cool.
Well, for those that may have somehow never seen the show, we're talking, of course, of the show Barnwood Builders and your company, Barnwood Living.
Yeah. I mean, we can address that, but I think everybody's heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least
Mark,
Johnny Jet. They've all heard of Johnny Jet because let's just get that out right now. Johnny Jet is the star of our TV show.
Well, you can hear him from a long way away, I think.
Right. Yeah. So I guess it's back 2000, you think 2005, Mike, when we made that stop? I think that's a good, probably a pretty good estimate.
Yeah. We just got in here and we were out doing a scout like we normally do. And that was the good old days when we get to ride around.
When we're trying to look for jobs to salvage as opposed to getting swamped by thousands and thousands of salvage jobs and just trying to wean through them. You have that experience?
I have the exact same experience. I mean, it used to be that I would have to drive every back road in West Virginia and Kentucky just to try to find somebody that would sell me their barn. And now just we're inundated with leads. And now I've become, you know, the person that's like, that's not quite good enough. You know what I mean?
An elitist and a barn
I've
elitist.
become a barn snob, man. That's a good way, Robert.
Right.
And you know, the thing is that I want to save them all, but there's literally only 6 of us. So it's not like that, you know, we show up and we start, you know, like TV or start work and then leave and the other crew comes in at night and finishes it. It's us.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, that's the same thing about the Salvage Dawgs that we did. You know, we did the work. We didn't have the trailer and the craft food and, you know, all the stuff.
No, it was just work.
It was just
a lot
There was
of work.
good food sometimes. I'll
You
give
guys
them
got
credit.
craft food? You guys got fed?
Yeah.
Well, we did have a lunchbox with chocolate in it that followed us around.
It was called Pandora's Box.
You never know what you're going to get.
We got candy. We got candy.
Robert needed candy. Come 2:30 p.m., Robert needed some candy.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
for
you
sure.
need to pick me up.
Yeah.
I missed at 3:30.
Yeah.
This mother had at 3:30.
Right.
It's the first and second dose.
Yeah, I think we all hit that. You know, right at the height of the day when it's like 1 o'clock and you've already eaten a big dinner. Which brings me to a question. You know, you're gonna have to excuse me because I do have a little touch of ADD, so I need to be clear on this question. Do you all take dinner break or lunch break?
Lunch break.
Lunch break.
Yeah.
Lunch.
And then we're hopefully done before dinner.
We are.
Dinner's waiting on us to
If
finish
you're
the
calling
job.
lunch dinner, then you're probably from farther north than I am. That's what I think of it.
I think, I mean, so we take a dinner break and you know, coal miners carry a dinner bucket and supper's at like 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's
So
face it,
supper-
West Virginia is a northern state.
There's a lot of reasons we separated.
You
and this is
quit.
another.
You quit on us.
You know, Robert still's not over it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
yeah,
over, man. I tell you what. I
that's
mean, it's the
fine.
difference between supper and dinner and lunch. Can
Yeah.
we agree on breakfast?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's all okay. My father, it was dinner. Because
Was
he's
it
from
really?
Pennsylvania. But,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
my mother ran the house, so it's lunch.
But we still have sweet tea.
And now, how sweet is it? Is it McDonald's sweet?
It's
It's sweet.
grandma's
It's a
sweet.
lot. I mean, it's pounds of sugar
It's
in there.
pounds of sugar. It's as sweet as any Southern sweet tea,
Yeah, right.
and it's sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
It's
That's
sweet
right.
tea.
Honey, you want some sweet, ice cold sweet
that
tea.
accent is why he is on his
The man.
13th or 12th season.
Well, just
of
so
Barnwood
silky and
Builders.
smooth.
I mean, they love
silky
it.
and
They
smooth.
love it.
I wouldn't mind having Tay's voice. I think I could have done more with my career if I would have had Tay's voice.
Well, trust me, it's underutilized.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's underutilized and overmodulated.
Oh, heavily modulated. Well, I want to touch on something interesting because obviously, well, you said how many seasons of Barnwood Builders have you done
We
to this
have
point?
completed 12 seasons.
Which is interesting. There's a lot of commonalities here because Salvage Dawgs did 11 seasons by the time it was over, and we also had a crew of 6, and there was no backup crew that came in after us. Our shows have so much in common, you know, with the crew and the backbreaking work.
Beyond the size of the audience, yes.
Well, because his is
Well, I mean, we've got Johnny Jet.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have so you have effectively 7 or 8 people on your team.
Now, I've always thought that Johnny Jett and Ted Ayers were, common, the same theme.
Cut from the same cloth.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. Ted had the hair. Johnny has a hat.
Yeah.
Johnny has a hat, but a really cool ponytail.
Yeah.
And the mustache is legendary. But you know what? It is really amazing how you guys and us were sort of thought of in people that have stopped by here. And we hear a lot of folks that you were their favorite show and we're their favorite show. And how does that work? They can't have 2 favorites. They're lying to
They're lying to somebody.
They're lying
they
to
are
someone.
lying to somebody.
I just figured out the problem. I've been lied to.
Well, you are in television. So.
But the
you should be used to it. Yeah.
The commonality, though, is that it's a wholesome show that the whole family can watch. And that seems to be a message that resonates over and over with a lot of people that we talk to.
Yeah. Well, there's no question we have a big commonality in demographic.
Yeah.
I've been real fortunate to have, like you guys, we have long-term folks that have worked there. 2 of them have been with me since 1998. So, started in 96 and then hired Johnny and Sherman in 98. And then the others have been 10 years, 5 years.
I remember when you started this, your first season, you just completed it. And I came up to see you up there in White Sulphur and Lewisburg. And your son, you had an insurance agency, right?
I had an insurance agency. So there was this little thing that happened in 2008. I don't know if many people noticed it, but there was a little slight blip in the housing market.
Sure.
Just
affected construction related stuff.
It sounds like
a little
that.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It got a little inconvenient for a few folks.
Right. So basically what happened is I start thinking I've got to get out of the construction industry. I couldn't sell any of my equipment. The housing market was what it was. And then even though the housing market started to improve, there was a lot of inventory that needed to be
washed through. Yeah.
You got to wash through that inventory before you just put words in my mouth. You said wash through, and I feel like I'm smarter when I'm talking. I honestly feel like I'm
sorry.
That's enough. That's enough suck up.
No, I really feel like he's got an intellectual prowess about it.
It's this right here.
It's Miller. Well, we called it, on the site because of his background in building construction. When we would come into a structure and we didn't know what something was called, instead of Googling it, we would Roogle it. Yeah. We would ask Robert.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's semi-dependable.
And he would root through his collection and give us something.
He would dare you to fight over it,
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a lost cause.
Are you calling me out?
I can say this, man. I was watching your show one time, and you were taking down a windmill, and you broke out the word fulcrum point. And I have used fulcrum point 1,000 times since then and hasn't made it on TV. I can't deliver it like you can.
Well, it's a Southwest Virginia, Pennsylvania accent.
I think it's just got to do with the cranial capacity. That boy, they're smart.
Well, it also depends on where you're using fulcrum point.
That's exactly
right. Shoehorning it in the wrong spot.
Well, and in fact, that fulcrum point was in the completely wrong place. If you remember how that played itself out,
I do. And then there was a ladder for bracing and something else.
I will tell you that I had some questions about the way that was drawn up.
The whole point, though, you didn't say anything, and it made good TV.
Sure did.
It does.
Anybody can rent a crane and take it down the easy way,
right?
But we wanted to kind of channel our inner Egyptian.
Yeah, just for a point was that this is talking about one of the episodes of Salvage Dawgs where we were called in to remove a 50-foot windmill from an old farm. It almost came down perfect.
It was it was 5 foot from completion.
Yeah. I remember. I remember watching and thinking, oh, that fulcrum point's not going to hold. And then I go in to take a shower and I'm looking for a fulcrum point somewhere that I can just talk about it. You know what I mean?
Everywhere.
So then every episode afterwards, I tried to say fulcrum point. Here's what you need to do is fulcrum point's about this point on the pry bar and what you need is leverage.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So anyway, Matt, thanks for making me smart.
I think I'm glad you've made that point because it needs to be made more often.
Yeah.
That you're smarter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Thank you, Mark, by the way.
Well, speaking of fulcrum and pivoting, we're going to pivot real quick to a break. And when we come back, more with Mark.
Milwaukee Tool has been a part of my life for quite a while. I love the color.
Red.
Yeah.
Easy to see. I think they coined the term sawzall.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
which is your favorite word.
That is my favorite tool. I mean, I always say go sawzall early, because
but more specifically,
you can never go back and get that time back. And having the right tool, like a sawzall with a fully charged battery,
M18.
I can lay waste to some stuff with that.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Can confirm.
Yeah. I'm like the Tasmanian devil. Just cut me loose.
I almost wish their Sawzall wasn't as good.
Yeah. Well, we've had some that weren't, and they were dangerous. I remember one throwing a blade at Robert through a floor one time.
That was not a Milwaukee tool.
No,
that was not a Milwaukee tool.
It didn't help that Robert was talking trash to that particular tool and it fought back.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Milwaukee tools, the best of the bunch.
Get you some.
Okay, checking my mic right now.
There it is.
Man, he sounds
Man, I got to get right over top of this thing.
Yeah. Don't say that thing, baby.
Let me get on.
Don't
Beyonce.
say. That's that Miller Lite he's drinking.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast. We're here with Mark Bowe.
It's the guy.
That's funny. He calls me the guy because when I was in insurance, that's what my sign said. When I was branding myself, I wanted to be the guy for insurance.
Like two guys in a truck.
That's exactly right. It was all about branding. There was another lady in the office and she was the girl. And that's how we marketed ourselves.
Yeah, and the sign said, the guy.
The sign said the guy. And so even though I'm no longer in that business, Mike still finds it funny to call me the guy.
That's because my memory sucks.
He locked onto that one memory, and that's all it is.
Yeah, I'm the guy. So,
well, that's what they say. You're him.
You're that guy.
You're that guy.
Well, they say it now because everybody knows you from Barnwood Builders.
Everybody knows it.
I mean, I'd like to be the guy, not that guy. I feel
that's
like
a very clear distinction.
There is a clear distinction. That guy means trouble. The guy means like you want to listen to him.
I kind of feel like that guy sometimes.
Well, speaking of insurance and obviously passion, I'd love to bring it around and talk about, your background and your passion and what led you into the business you're still in, and which ultimately made it onto Barnwood Builders. And then Dad, Robert, maybe you could connect and draw some lines in between that and Black Dog.
Well, one of the questions I've always had, and it's something that's a part of I call it horse trading component to our business. Early on, you said you used to go through West Virginia and Tennessee and Kentucky looking for cabins, and then you had to talk to people and you had to negotiate, and I always wondered, because we did some early salvage jobs that Robert and I call it, we had to go home and take a shower and put on our tuxedo. It was so bad.
Yeah. Got to feel better about yourself after some of those.
There's some low self-esteem moments at that point. But, the passion for negotiating, to make it a fair deal for people is always the sweet spot, so to speak.
Yeah, I think everybody, we want to buy low and sell high.
Yeah, you buy on the purchase.
Yeah, so we buy rock. And we sell hand-cut stone.
There you go.
So if I'm buying from somebody, I want to know if they want to sell that rock. And then if a client comes, I want to showcase this fine piece of hand-cut stone. But there is the balance there because when you go to offer, the seller money, you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And I don't always feel comfortable in giving a price on somebody else's heirloom. And that's the part of the business that I really feel a little bit uncomfortable with. But I think that we've managed to do a good job because we got referrals, way before the TV show. And even now people will call in and not know that we have a TV show. So we've done a good job and it travels from ridge to ridge to ridge. And so if you go in and you offer somebody a fair price and you speak from your heart, then you're going to either get the product and it'll work with your business or you have to walk away from it.
I mean, it's a karma thing. When you're dealing with folks, because it's sentimental. You can't. I always say I can't put a price on sentimentality because that's an heirloom, like you said. So at the end of the negotiation, and you hand them some money or whatever the deal is, everybody's smiling.
Yeah, and we learned that the hard way because there were a lot of times when I started, I didn't have any money, and we would reach a price, and I would have to come back and write a check
personally, of course,
and by the time I got back, they've already passed the word around that they're going to sell this and somebody's offered, $100 more or something. And so I learned that you either have the money to buy it or you don't.
Yeah, don't talk about it. You got to close the deal for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we go to these places and now that, your show's been on TV and our show's been on TV and there's a lot of other people out there that are on Pawn Stars or whatever, they feel like the product might be worth more than it actually is. But what is behind the scenes is an entire business model that has to support the purchase.
You're talking Robert's language.
I mean, the work people miss is the absolute sheer, huge monster amount of work that it takes to take one of these things apart so that it can be used again.
And it's all got to be fueled by passion, right? Like, why are you could have stayed in insurance. So like what? Yeah.
Oh man, he does a good job of circling back around to the topics.
Right. Well, it's in big yellow letters here. On my episode script.
Yeah. Well, I think it does have to do with passion. So, in order to do what we do, you have to love history. You have to love hard work, and you have to be willing to make some sacrifices. And that is, and can be your body. It can be time away from home when you're traveling to build something or take something down. And the fruits of all that labor is that we are constantly team building. Every project we have is a team building exercise, which is why we all, get along so well.
Your team, which, I mean, the chemistry of you guys comes across on the screen as loud as it can be. You guys it's cutting up, and just like kind of our crew was all the time, just cracking because the humor makes, I think, the hard work go by a little faster. Mark has ADD, Bob.
It's all I can do to not talk about pigeons right now.
Did you know that pigeons have one hole?
Pigeons have one hole. Everything comes out of it. One hole.
That better not be your DIY tip of the week.
Yeah. No, I hope it is.
Well, where we were was talking about the fact that humor can get you through hard work.
That's true.
And
all I got is humor. You lost me at hard work.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
What made you, Mark, start? Oh wow, that was a burn.
It hurt.
I was trying to stay on
I'm
script.
wondering if he was going to get.
I tossed it out there and he knocked it out.
You tossed it out there to me.
It's soft pitch. It's all right.
I appreciate the softballs, man.
Yeah.
So you said you started Barnwood Living. Did you start with the name, or did you just start with the idea to?
I think I gave him the name. I think that, the conversation that we had back in the day, I was going to save this till the very end, but, being an expert television talent, reality personality that I am, the first person that Mark called when he was thinking about a television show or when you had a real offer was me, wasn't it?
I smell the word commission coming. Why do I feel like he's digging on me for commission?
Just
here?
one piece.
I feel like that there's a percentage coming behind this question.
That's when you're drowning. You're just always reaching for something.
Actually, I did call you and Mike, because one of the things I needed to know was, am I being treated fairly?
That's exactly right.
What's the compensation package? Because it's not the amount of money that people think it is.
And you make it one time.
Yeah. And it may change and it's whatever, but it's, you don't know until if you're ever able to tell somebody who's been in it. Now, there's different levels of that. And I told you what I knew. And you thought, well, why would I do that?
Yeah. I mean, the more you talk, the more I thought I'm not doing this. This doesn't make sense.
When we started and we were on our first thoughts about having a series, I Googled, how do you make money on reality TV? And truly it said, have something to sell. That was the key thing, having a hat, a shirt, or whatever it is that, you can swag out there. And now it's pickles and paint and 2 Ps at least.
Yeah. You got pickles salvage. And paint. That's a good start.
Yeah.
If you get peanuts, popcorn, and some pepperoni, man, I think you're going to be
we'll round out the peas.
Round out the peas, and that's where the profit is.
If you didn't make that joke, I was going.
Yeah. So really, that's good advice, and you guys gave me some really good advice in getting started. And I think now that we're coming toward the end of. I'd like to say we're coming toward the end. There's no way we're at the halfway point, 12 seasons in. So let's just assume we're on the backside of this thing.
Never say never.
I don't know, man. I'm 51. My back is like 72.
Yeah. Well, you want to walk across the finish line and not be drug or wheeled. That was one of my purposes in life during the days. Just don't mess up and suck and have to be rolled across the finish line.
Yeah, Mike did appear in several wheelchairs in the later episodes, being pushed around by Tay.
I was warned that that's what my future is going to look like. It's playing right out in front of me.
That's right.
But thankfully, you didn't fall off a roof or something. You got real close in the episode we'll talk about later. But
plenty of opportunity. That's where the safety comes in. I didn't know Mark had a safety background.
I've got a master's degree in safety and environmental management. Yeah, so I've got a business degree, which they did not teach fulcrum economics in there.
But
I did learn a thing or two.
You can't get it all.
You can't get it all, not in one spot.
And not at WVU anyway.
No, not well. Now, wait a second. Wait a second.
Easy, watch out.
You're right. It's next level up there. You can't get that. You can't get that peon talk up there.
Yeah, it's just that VT.
You gotta go next level up there.
We've danced around this a little bit, but I think it's one of the biggest concentrations that I see on your show, and it really is one of my true passions, and that's the history behind all these buildings. And the reason we're in this business beyond monetization is to save our nation's history, our people's history. Everywhere we drive around Southwest Virginia and West Virginia, you'll see clapboard houses along the side of the road, farmhouses, and you think, well, that may be 100 years old, but hiding behind those houses often is a 250-year-old log structure. And is that what really drove you into this business, the true business of it, or is it the money?
I don't think that you can get into a business and think about the money when it's got to do with working with your hands. It's like any other artist or craftsman. I don't think that you go into it with, a business plan and an exit strategy. That's the stuff you find out after you've wasted 20 years of your life. That's the stuff you find out and realize, man, I could have done a lot more.
Yeah, that sucks.
Hey, he's got an organic business plan as well.
Yeah,
that turns out.
Yeah, that's right. So really it became for me about working, with my hands and just trying to replicate what the pioneers did and try to respect and appreciate these houses and make sure that we could save every single one that we can.
And you can't save them all.
No, we can't save them all. I mean, there are some folks that get angry because we won't come to Oregon or somewhere and save a cabin, but we just can't go everywhere. There's 6 of us. What's really interesting is as I got a little further along into it, we started realizing where people migrated from. You go up into the Northeast and people refer to it as settlers. You come across the mountains here and then it becomes pioneers. And so there's kind of a big difference there. And I think that the techniques that came from the Dutch and the Germans and the Finnish and so many other people, we find something new in a new building component every time we take down a building. So I've done 500 buildings and no 2 have ever been the same, and they all have their own unique history. So really it's about preservation and it's about art and it's about recycling.
It's well worth doing. It's amazing to watch you guys work on the show, and it was amazing to watch what you put together before the show. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I think that the one thing that I would like to do a little bit more of is I'd like to be able to finish these cabins off, but we can't, So
Sure.
If we have a buyer in South Carolina, we just can't go down there and leave home and work. That's why we have the boneyard, and it's why we bring everything and do the restoration work to one location.
Well, speaking of boneyard, we have a project over in our warehouse lot that I think it needs your attention. It definitely needs some attention. That's not mine.
Are you getting to why we even asked Mark to come here in the first place?
Yeah, I'm going to go look at this thing
bait and switch.
Yeah. No, you're going to walk over there and just start laughing. It's just, are you calling this a cabin?
Yeah. Come over for this podcast, and then we're going to take you and pick your brain on this timber frame that the character left that a long time ago, man.
That's just wood.
You're right. That is firewood. So we're going to take a real quick break. Mark, thank you for being here. When we come back, I hope you'll grace us with a DIY top tip.
Oh, that'd be fun.
All right. See you in a minute.
See you in a minute. A minute is quicker than a minute, so I better get that tip ready.
Right.
Guys, the word Leatherman comes to mind. It's very intimate with me. I wake up next to it. I go to bed with it. And you think that's. I mean, I would wear.
Don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed.
I am a proud wearer of the Leatherman Wave. Now, there's a lot of different Leatherman. This is a utility tool.
They're all good. They're all good multi-tools.
But the Wave is perfect because it's got all the tools you need. I mean, it's like the MacGyver tool, I call it. Right. So you can rebuild a. Oh, you're over there rubbing your. What are you rubbing?
I'm rubbing.
He's rubbing his Leatherman, everybody.
I'm not embarrassed.
He's not embarrassed.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
The Leatherman is just an incredible tool. I use it every day. My muscle memory is if I need something, my hand goes to my waist immediately.
I have seen.
You should see him reach for it.
I do.
Yeah, it's nice when you get them worn in too.
Yeah,
broken in.
I can pull one out, look like a Filipino hooker, along a pole.
Leatherman, get one today.
Yeah, protect your assets. Get one today.
What am I doing on the tip? I mean,
that's a good question.
It doesn't matter. You can do anything. You can say, "Hey, plant your corn early this year" or something. That was Jed Clamp.
All right, everyone, and we're back with the Black Dog Salvage Podcast, and our guest today, Mark Bowe. Mark, it's actually in our contract. We were hoping you brought with you a DIY top tip that we could broadcast to the people today.
There's a contract?
No, never mind. Sorry.
To the people.
I just came on your word, guys. What's
I would run.
Ambush?
What am I doing?
I would run, Forrest.
Well, no, in every episode, it's cool to pick the brains of people that have a lot of experience doing cool stuff. And we like to think what we do here at Black Dog is it's certainly fun. And a lot of people think it's cool. What you guys do, I think, involves a lot of skills that are very particular to that trade. But in all of your ventures, did you stumble upon any tips that
I'm thinking that insurance is
always have an exit strategy. That's the tip.
Yeah.
Always figure out a way out. Whether you're cutting a tree down
Yeah, that's right.
or whether you're starting a business, you figure out how you're going to get out of the place first.
Safe harbor is.
I think that, there's a lot of things that we do that are so particular to old logs, but if I'm talking to, a larger group of people, there is a philosophy that we have on our wall that is work hard, be kind, and take pride. And I think that tip, if you work hard and you're a kind person and you take pride in what you do, it doesn't matter if you're sitting at a desk. It doesn't matter if you're out working with your hands. It's pretty simple. And I think those three things will make you successful no matter what you do.
Well, it's done it for you. I mean, that's who you are. That's your motto.
It is. And so, I've learned to say I'm sorry and actually mean it. And I've learned that, I'm willing to lose money to do the right thing because that's what pride is. And kindness is contagious.
Oh, absolutely. A smile, a laugh. It carries. I get that a lot when people talk about it. It says, you carried me through but laughing through some hard times. I was recovering from surgery or, I was quarantined with COVID and, it carried you. And I get the same thing from your show and the way that you guys treat each other and treat people.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that again, that creed for us has been, and what I would say our biggest tip and the motto that we live by. So, I mean, I could tell you how to carry a ladder, but I don't have a ladder to demonstrate it. So
it's radio. This is a podcast.
It's a podcast. So here's how you carry a ladder. I'm carrying it right now. Okay, so that's how that's going.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, I think that we hear a lot of things about people, and they say that they like how we all get along. They like how that we work, and that we don't fight or whatever, but that we work so hard. And I think that when we boil it down to the basics of who we are and what we stand for, work hard, be kind, and take pride in what you do.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. And you honestly see it on Barnwood Builders for sure.
Thank you.
And Salvage Dawgs.
I was actually watching your TED Talk from 2013 last night for fun, do a little research.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the quotes you said in it was, give more hugs and make more pies. You were talking about the front porch.
Yeah. I mean, the front porch, that's a part of our modern architecture that has disappeared.
Yeah.
You walk up to a lot of subdivisions and you look at the houses and there's nowhere to go but in. Let's get a porch on there, and let's get to know our neighbors.
I love a porch.
Yeah, you can holler.
Yeah, you can holler.
Yeah.
Well, some solid words to live by, some great advice, some good tips. Mark, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for allowing me to be the philosopher.
Ooh.
Anytime, man.
I got a fulcrum for you there, buddy.
Well, we'll pivot once again on this fulcrum. We'll take a break. Mark, thank you so much for stopping by. And after the break, we'll share with you some inside stories of this week's episode of Salvage Dawgs, the Drake's Branch Cabin, a.k.a. Mudfest. We'll see you in a bit.
I wanted to talk about the tattoo that I have.
Where?
On my butt. I've got an M on each cheek, and every time I do a cartwheel, it says, "Wow, Mom." Okay.
Yeah. That's enough. Your fans only, or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Only fans.
Only fans. Is that,
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
There's your exit strategy.
Yeah. He's a comedian.
Oh, hell yeah.
United Rental was a supporter of ours for, 8 years, maybe even more, I guess. And one thing that I really enjoyed about these guys, I would make a call. I'd tell them where I was going, where it was kind of an obscure area. I'd tell them I need 2 or 3 different pieces of equipment. And before we got there, that machinery was sitting on site. And we went to some pretty remote places that weren't easy to get to.
Yeah.
And these guys delivered every time. And when I screwed up, meaning like I misfired and say I want to be on Thursday and not on Wednesday, they would bring it back.
You screwed up?
I did.
Yeah, but United Rentals didn't screw up.
No. They called me on it many times, but they delivered with a smile. I'm telling you what, those guys are professional, good equipment, and we couldn't have done this job without them. It's I don't know how else to say it. I'm getting kind of misty.
Yep, United Rentals is there for us. All right, welcome back. This is the Black Dog Salvage Podcast. Today we're talking about one of the episodes from the illustrious 11 seasons of Salvage Dawgs. This week it's Drake's Branch in episode number 911.
And that's a location. That's a town or a little township, right?
That's what they named the episode. So that's Southside, Virginia, just a little bit farther south of Farmville, Virginia.
Yeah,
you'll find that on the maps.
That's where we stayed. And I remember right off the bat with this thing is we were bringing the show hauler in and we got it stuck. And
well, that's kind of precursor
foreshadowing.
Right? Exactly.
Well, and we got up to the house when we all were rolling up for the scout, and our camera guy Gary was stuck. It was a beautiful lawn and everything, and he's axle deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we had to pull it out. So that was kind of, hey, figure it out, guys. This is coming.
So backing up a little bit for everybody to understand, this is in the southern portion of Virginia, in the flatlands of Southside Virginia. And it's a rural woods community. And this was a farmhouse that a couple had bought and wanted to, basically they needed it to go away so they could build their new dream house. And it was set in an old farm in a field, beautiful, pristine. It had been raining for several days before our arrival. And this house was a log cabin hiding behind a clapboard house, kind of like I was talking with Mark about earlier, as well as some other surprises that we found as we took it apart. But it just seemed like a perfect job, a lot of land to work around. We had enough room that we were going to be able to tear down the bad parts of the house and burn it in a pit. And it was set up pretty nicely.
But
you know, the history of this place, I mean, once you didn't really see it until you started taking it apart. And that house it's sold now, right?
Oh yeah. It's being rebuilt in another part of Virginia, as a matter of fact.
Oh, awesome.
It's surprising. Mike brought me the pictures of the outside of this place, and it was a clapboard structure with a porch on the front. You could tell it had a hyphen or an addition on the left side and an addition on the right side. And the left side was a little bit more modern, I think, or it was very modern, and the right side seemed to be modern, but this was 1780s, 1790s in the center. This is a log structure.
I wasn't having any fun at all because I got y'all were doing all your discovery work, and I was over there with Ted taking apart the new part, and then the new part of the house.
Oh, right. I was trying to figure out where you were saying you had no fun. This was he was talking about the types of structures, and
I'm just going on.
Mike had taken pictures of this thing, and it was beautiful inside. And now you're complaining about what part of the job you got.
Well, it was the newest construction, and it had to come off, and I was tired of it. Just it was on and on and on. So I finally got a piece of equipment and had my way with that thing, and it I didn't do too much damage.
This is we're not a demolition company. We are salvagers and deconstructors. But Mike got the opportunity to get in the demo business, which is when you're dealing with 1960s construction, that's about the best thing you can do is get a piece of equipment and crunch it up.
Well, it would have struck a match, but it was attached to the good stuff.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
It ended up in the fire anyway.
That's right.
Well, speaking of that particular demolition effort, I'm glad they left this in because I made a $10 bet that you were going to hit the shed behind you.
It was supposed to stay?
That hopefully is still there.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. I nudged it a little bit. Didn't knock it off its foundation.
Well, that was the bet that he would touch it.
It's like NASCAR. It's just trading a little paint. Just kind of nudge it over.
I never did get my $10.
So we're dealing with. We've got we had a great relationship with United Rental throughout the filming of Salvage Dawgs, and lots of great equipment. And Mike and Tay love to operate it. And one of the things you find out as a contractor myself is that equipment with wheels will tear up a yard in a heartbeat. And if it's a wet yard.
The only thing that saved us is that it had tracks on it, and that thing was floating.
Oh, yeah, skid steer.
That was it. Yeah, exactly. And again, I don't get behind the equipment. I'm usually on the end of it being hoisted into the air. So it was kind of liberating for me. It's
so basically that beautiful, pristine yard that we were working on and playing a platform for all of us to stage the job and kind of had laid it all out. And we're going to put this stuff here. We're going to burn this stuff here. It's going to be great.
You had it organized, didn't you?
Yeah. We were in mud boots.
What happened?
And the mud was up to just below the knee. God. Just below the knee for as far as the eye and walk. And you can walk.
I kind of enjoyed it. It was very therapeutic,
Well, your knees will feel it later.
Well, yeah. But we got out of it. But, we were, that was a week evolutions because we went from that job to do another one and then came back to finish it.
Is that right?
That's behind the scenes stuff. Nobody knows that.
What did we do? Because I'm glad you remember.
We went to Yorktown.
Is that where the lifeboat was?
Yeah. And then we came back.
That was another house. That's right.
Yes.
We left Cameron and Spike and
Trevor.
Yeah. Exactly.
We left Spike, who is an architect.
Right.
And he was documenting all the parts to the house before we took it apart because we had basically skinned the chicken and gotten rid of all the junk. And so we had a log structure, just right down to just the structure itself. And then we had a post and beam structure that had been an addition from the 1830s. And while they organized all the parts and got rid of all the junk and burned the trash, Spike was basically numbering every piece so that we could, when we did take it apart, we could put it back together someday.
They didn't take enough of it apart while we were gone, is what I was kind of alluding to.
Well, the cameras weren't with them, so we told them that they couldn't do any work. That's the way that worked out.
I didn't get that memo. And we left them behind. They got the lollygag and playing the mud while we were out in the Chesapeake buying lifeboats.
That's right. It was a house that was coming down.
It was a farm.
And it was right in the middle of town, pretty much. I mean, it was close on the water, and that thing was. The doors were really short. I remember that.
People were smaller back then, I think.
Mike, that's a different episode, but I'm glad you brought it up.
I know it is, but it was connected to this. And that's why I wanted to share that with you, that, once you really start seeing the reality of making a reality show, it's not all straightforward. We're doing things. Most of the time we get to stay there and finish, but this one we got to go somewhere else in the middle of it and then come back out and then really start to get the mud going.
Yeah. Well, one thing that never varies is that we pretty much do all the work.
Oh, yeah. My stunt double didn't show up,
Getting back to it, we did leave for a little while. The guys documented the house, which is key.
Yeah, that's
absolutely 100% key. If you're going to take apart a whole structure like this, it's not for the parts. It's for it to be rebuilt somewhere. And this ties in, and there's a reason we talked about this episode in this particular podcast, because that's exactly what Mark Bowe and his crew does.
I was going to say, you must have been watching Barnwood Builders.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The documentation's important so that you can put it back together, but you still have to come take it apart. And so what we were taking apart is a log cabin built by hand by pioneers.
Yeah, this is 1700 something.
In the 1700s, somebody had struck out on the edge of Virginia territory and was building his homestead. And he did it by hand with an adze and an axe and whatever his kids could help in the project. And they put together this log cabin with the wood that was standing on the land that he had homesteaded on.
He had a cow.
Well, he may have had a cow. I doubt he had a cow when he got out there. I bet he was going after some deer, though,
we got to have some milk, man.
Yeah, it takes a while to create a farm. And when you're staking one out, you're not going to get any crops or anything. You're out there foraging in the woods. So we were taking apart something that was built in the 1780s. And you can see that man's thought process,
the mark of man,
sweat and everything else that he put into building this cabin for his family. And we took it apart in the opposite direction that he put it together. And that's really cool. So you take this whole thing apart, you've got it documented, you get it on a truck, you get it back to Roanoke, you put it in your yard, and then you have to market it. Another great thing about old architecture and old houses is you see how the thing grows. It was a log cabin. They lived in it for 40 or 50 years, scratching out a living, and it was going okay, or the family got bigger, or they sold it to another family and they needed more room. So in the 1830s, as construction methodology had progressed, they built a kind of a little a poor man's post and beam timber frame structure on the side, and they called that an addition. And it was beautiful with the wood paneling and all that cool stuff.
How'd you know it was a poor man? I mean,
well, because we've had a couple really nice timber frames that we've worked on. Do you remember the one in New Jersey?
Yeah.
The construction methodology and the joints and the way it was put together. It was somebody who was an expert.
So that's forensics.
Somebody hired somebody to build that frame in New Jersey. The owner of that or his neighbors and him put that together.
So-
and they were farmers and they were not builders.
A poor man builds his own home.
That's
what you're
exactly
saying.
right.
Okay.
Exactly
All
right. So,
Or someone with entirely too much free time.
I must be rich because I've never built a home.
yeah. You do remember the two chimneys that were on it, and they had the writing on it with the
Yes, I
the
remember
dates.
that. Yeah.
Really cool
We
stuff.
pushed it over into a pile.
Well, yeah, but
Because
they were saving the stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the way to get it done.
And I think you pulled the one with the marks out
We did.
first.
We
Yeah.
did, and we saved that for the owner. And they're going to take a lot of materials that were saved out of that, and the owners were going to incorporate that in their new house. But the house that they took apart is going to live again.
We need to go back and see what they did with the property. Anyway, Jake's Ranch was a lot of fun. The mud and all, and the break in the middle to go do some more salvage. It was memorable, and the memories keep living just because that house is now being reconstructed in its original configuration.
Yeah, I call that success.
Yeah.
We have to mention briefly also that you almost fell off the roof on this one.
Oh,
Well, let's think.
You almost fell off the roof on this
is
one.
it time for rate the bloodletting? What do we call
gotta
that?
give this one a bleeder on the rank it on the bleeder
Well, it's
scale.
1 to 10, and what's the bleeder rating?
I don't know that you physically bled.
Well, no.
No, as we discussed
Yeah.
previously, that it doesn't actually have to be human blood that is spilt.
It's
in
Mike's,
the name of salvage.
Yeah, it's Mike's dignity that really gets.
I mean, there could be internal bleeding.
We don't know.
No,
Yeah.
never did that. So this I'm going to give because I know what happened. I was tied in, but I didn't dangle, which was always a good thing. You don't want to have to test your parachute when you're falling. So
Sure.
it was a 5.
Okay.
I did catch myself.
Could have easily
And
been
it
a 10.
it made for a good break.
It could have been turned up to an 11 is what I'm thinking.
Oh,
Sure.
it could have been a much bigger number than that because Flight for Life would probably have had to come in for me. But I'm still standing. I'm still walking. So we made it through.
My notes said, Dad fell, Grayson saved him.
She did. Grayson did save me more. She
And
did.
many times Grayson saved us.
Yeah, and I miss her so.
We're glad you made it out of that one. We're going to go to break real quick and we'll be right back.
Let's take a minute to talk about Big Tex trailers,
Okay.
people. Black Dog Salvage, supported by Big Tex trailers, years and years. Many loads come
Many a
back.
load.
Many a load of
That sounds
salvage.
like a song.
Yeah, but not only Black Dog Salvage, but my construction company, Blue Ridge Residential, also supported by Big Tex trailers.
And if I need to borrow a trailer, I borrow your Big Tex
And
trailer.
by the way, if you need to borrow a piece of equipment, how are you going to get it there? You're going to put it on a Big Tex trailer, right?
Yeah,
otherwise I'd be uncomfortable.
And the 26-foot flatbed we have it's called a deck over.
Mm,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the beaver tail, so we have all that space.
Specifically for large loads coming in from a long way
And
away.
we've overloaded them. I mean, so, again, it's not officially, don't read your manual and be safe. Imagine that coming from me.
Yeah.
But it's real important. You're responsible for your load and you got to have a quality trailer underneath. And we've put it through the paces and it's continued to give it up for us.
Perfect for the salvage business, perfect for the construction business. Big Tex trailers are the way to go.
Perfect.
And welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast. And we got to extend a huge thanks to Mark Bowe. He's since gone back with his family. He came to see us on vacation.
Isn't that great of him? What a nice guy because he's a neighbor.
We're going to go invite ourselves to the parties at his house.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait. Never tell somebody that you got a house at the lake.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't tell anyone it's got a house.
Always have a boat and don't need a dock. Everybody else has one.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can find out more about all the stories you've heard today and others at blackdogsalvage.com.
Hey, and listen, you can also sign up for our newsletter. And you can hear what's going on with the guests in this show.
And folks, we would very much appreciate if you like what you heard, please share, like, and rate our show wherever you get your podcast, as those shares and likes really make a difference.
They do.
I hear that. I don't know what that's all about. But
That's what they
give us-
say.
It
Give us
makes
some.
a difference,
Yeah.
and we're counting on you.
Maybe that's what I'm missing in
I
life.
think-
Some more likes and thumbs ups.
Your comment could be anything. You could tell us what you had for breakfast. Just leave a comment. It goes a long way.
Yeah. Remember, we're a family show.
Thank you guys for listening.
Seriously, thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Great.